I'm just trying to be as prepared as possible to fulfill and fill in that void that's going to be leaving the news. We are the only, as you mentioned, the only TV with a local newscast in Spanish. Well, now I'm going to be doing news every day in Spanish, but it's going to be accessible not just on TV at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. Now it's accessible at 6 p.m. because my newscast is going to be at 6 p.m. But I also can do news at any time of the day, anywhere I am. So it actually expands the possibilities.
That's Jaime Mendez, longtime anchor for Seattle's Univision affiliate, KUNS, a Spanish language television. Jaime has been anchoring the local news there since 2007. But at the end of December, the affiliate is going to go off the air here in Seattle. Welcome, everybody, to Chino y Chicano.
I'm Matt Chan, the Chino.
I'm Enrique Cerna, the Chicano. The Sinclair Broadcast Group that operates the affiliate and owns Seattle's KOMO is ending the affiliation and also ending national Spanish language programming locally via that affiliate. Also, the region's lone locally produced TV newscast in Spanish. And of course, the big question is why, Matt?
Well, we can always conjecture. I mean, Sinclair is a conservative, company, and they tend to push out, Trump propaganda on their editorial side. But they say it's a business decision. That could be it. But regardless of what the reason is, the absence of Univision in the airwaves in Seattle is a huge loss. And ethnic media suffers enough of just underexposure that the loss of something like this is going to be felt.
For the Latino community, it's a big loss because they have come to really depend on this newscast. They've come to depend on people like Jaime Mendez. Jaime has been around a long time. He really made his bones in this market on Spanish language radio. And then from there built visibility and an audience. And he was a perfect guy to become the anchor of this Spanish language.
And like you, he's become a respected voice,
right?
Of truth and just telling it like it is, and that's important to have people with history that they can trust.
He's someone that understands journalism. He practices good journalism. He also was involved with the Sounders and doing local coverage of the Sounders and doing his own program, and he has built this audience and reputation. And so now that's what's sad about this is that's going to go away. And of course, Jaime's still under contract, so I don't think there's a lot he can really expound on and saying other than it's a business decision. Maybe down the road here, we'll get him back on and talk about all of this, and he can tell us a little bit more insight about really his feelings about how this all came about. But I think right now what he's looking forward is forward to the future and what his plans are to build something to maintain the coverage of the Latino community here, not only in Puget Sound, but I think around the state. And I think he's going to be onto something here, Matt, I think having that local ownership in a way.
Well, like we talked about, appointment viewing of local news is kind of a dead issue now. I mean, people are used to getting the news when they want it. And so being able to provide a service like that to the Latino community is going to be, worth the price of admission, let's say.
Yeah. And I think the opportunity to build something that's not just in this region, but around the state and maybe beyond that is really there to keep coverage of the Latino community alive and well here in the Northwest. Here now is our conversation with Jaime Mendez. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation, Enrique and Matt. Pleasure to be here.
When you first heard about this decision from Sinclair, did it come out of the blue?
Not really. I mean, in a way, I personally kind of expected that, this channel could be transferred, could be moved, could be end. I guess when you work on television, and Enrique, because you worked in television for many years, it's never guaranteed that you're going to be there forever. So I kind of expected that this could happen someday, and it just happened now.
Television sometimes and broadcast media sort of like the NFL, not for long, so you never know exactly when things are going to change. And you're pretty fortunate if you can hang in there for a long time. You have meant a lot to the Latino community. I just want to get that out there because, you started in radio years ago and you built really a visibility doing local Spanish language radio, and you seem to be a perfect fit for this. So now you're going to be taking that awareness that you've gotten, that visibility of what you've done for so many years on this particular affiliate as an anchor there, to build your own thing. So talk about that. What is that? What do you envision right now?
Absolutely. In just a few weeks, actually, because December 31st is the last day that Univision Seattle will be on the air. So as of January 1st, I'm wasting no time. I will be on my social media platforms, mainly on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I will be delivering news briefs Monday through Friday, breaking news on weekends when there is breaking news worth sharing right away. And also we'll have a podcast, a weekly podcast, and we'll have a program that does interviews that are community oriented, community service oriented. That's what we're going to start on January 1st.
And the Latino community relies on media. I mean, radio especially, and TV. I mean, that's a big drop. So how's the community reacting to this all?
It definitely leaves a big void, but you have to understand also, and you guys are witnesses of this, is that faster and faster people are moving to social media, to the platforms, virtual platforms, more than TV. And even though, still Latinos that watch TV and leave the TV on while they're at home, they watch the soap operas and the shows and the funny shows and then the newscast. I hear more and more people saying, quite honestly, I know you because of TV, but now I watch you online because Univision has also an online live newscast, and a lot of people are watching from their screens, small screens like TV or iPad or the computer. So I'm just trying to be as prepared as possible to fulfill and fill in that void that's going to be leaving the news. We are the only, as you mentioned, the only TV with a local newscast in Spanish. Well, now I'm going to be doing news every day in Spanish, but it's going to be accessible not just on TV at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. Now it's accessible at 6 p.m. because my newscast is going to be at 6 p.m. But I also can do news at any time of the day, anywhere I am. So it actually expands the possibilities. Yeah.
It gives
an
you a lot of
opportunity.
Flexibility. Yeah, that's for sure.
Because that's the way it's on demand, right? I mean, if something's happening and you're like, well, I don't want to wait till 11 o'clock. I don't want to wait till this time, they can go right to it. So once people understand that's what it is, that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And if I may add, something interesting happened during the pandemic. Well, many interesting things happened during the pandemic, but one of the most revealing things when it comes to communications is that we were limited to have only 30 minutes on the newscast Monday to Friday to talk about huge news that have so many different aspects that we needed to cover, and we still have to do sports and weather and entertainment. And in this 30 minutes, that is actually not even 30 minutes of news because there is commercial break, so it's more like 20 some minutes. Well, I started doing at 7 p.m. after the newscast. I went live and expanded on all these things that were happening during the pandemic, trying to break the news that are true and separate those from the fake news. There were so many things. Imagine people in English were at a lost when it came to news. They were confused. People, everybody didn't know nobody knew what exactly was happening. In Spanish, it was even worse because there were less venues of information, less windows of information to get really true, reliable information. So I started doing this thing at 7 p.m. on my Facebook, page, and the reception was amazing. The followers quadrupled in a matter of weeks, just because everybody knew that at 7 p.m. I would come, I would do a live thing. It was just a talking head because I didn't have any video. It was just me talking about what was happening, the news of the day. I could expand on things. it would be instant feedback from the community, asking questions, telling me things, telling me where there were food banks that people could go to, clarifying things about you cannot get kicked out of your apartment or of your house because you're not paying your rent, all these things. So I realized then that when people need to find out their information and they know where to go, they would go there. And before, maybe social media was not as important. Well, it was important, but it was not as important for news more than entertainment. After the pandemic, during the pandemic and after the pandemic, I realized this is a tool that we can definitely use for news. And even if Latinos were not looking at Facebook for news, now they are, and they could be. And I think because there is not going to be news on TV, at least for a while, at least that I know, they will go to my Facebook page. And my responsibility is to continue providing responsible information, true, be respectful with my audience, and be constant, be continuous, be on time.
How are you going to do this? I mean, you're one guy. What's your game plan? I think your wife is going to be involved with you, helping you out. And do you have anybody else that's going to, obviously there's also a financial implication on all of this. How are you going to do this?
Enrique, I like you ask those questions because I can tell you're on TV and you know exactly the limitations and the needs of that. So absolutely. But I'm not just one guy. That's something that's very important. I am my wife. It's been so amazing in this process. And I tell you a little bit about my wife. My wife used to work for the Mexican consulate. She's a diplomatic career as a diplomatic. And coincidentally, in February, we just made the decision that she was going to quit, or at least take a leave of absence from the Mexican consulate and for her diplomatic career in order to apply for a resident visa, because diplomats have to move from one place to another every so many years. Her time in Seattle got extended because of the pandemic. So she was here 6 years, but it was time to move on. And we had the conversation, are we ready to go somewhere else in the world and leave Seattle? And the answer immediately was no. I have my family here. I have my audience. I have my job that I had for 16 years. So no, we're not ready to leave quite yet. So we decided that she was going to work until September 30th was her last day at the consulate. She started her leaves of absence. That same month on September is when we learned that Univision Seattle was going to be gone. So we're both like thinking to each other, oh, we're both going to be without a job at the end of the year. And then it was a coincidence, but again, what looked at first like a problem turned out to be a very good opportunity, because now we're both working together on the project, and she is a person with an enormous capacity to produce, to administer, to organize, and she's been full-time working on the development of this project. She has a lot of knowledge of many different things, except maybe broadcast, but she's a very talented person. She's also very eloquent, who could be not just behind the camera doing organizing and administering, things, but she also can be in front of the camera. And she also is going to be part of the podcast that I'm really looking forward to that, because we plan on having really fun conversations and things. So it's not just me. I have to say it's a 50-50 effort right now. We're both working really, really hard. I still have my full-time job with Univision Seattle, but as soon as I leave the station, all the rest of the time I'm putting it into organizing this thing. And also, actually, because of Converge, I have been able to connect with other resources here, like Cesar Cañizales, who's a person who does reports here. He's bilingual, he speaks English and Spanish, and he's also going to be collaborating with us. And we have also another couple of young guys who are going to be helping us. And just today, I had a talk with my co-anchor here, Paula Lamas, and we agreed to work together. She does a great job putting together entertainment packages, and she says, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that entertainment package once a week." So now we are in the works of including that on our newscast, and hopefully also in the future we'll be able to get more people to collaborate with us with reports in different places. Another element that I want to add to this news brief is something that I call Tu Noticia. Tu Noticia translates to your news. And I just want to decentralize the information that is not just in the Seattle area or King County, even though most of the people live here. But if you are anywhere in the state of Washington, for now, we're going to limit it to the state of Washington, you can send me your news. We're going to tutor a little tutorial to people so they can do, you can talk on camera, they can tell me what's going on, they can show me a little bit video, we put it together, and we can bring that as a part of, as a news element on our newscast. So really, potentially we are 1.1 million people collaborating with these newscasts. I know it sounds ambitious, but that's what I want to do.
No, hey, you gotta shoot big. You gotta think out of the box. You gotta. It's actually you're taking that whole idea of citizen journalism to be a part of this, and so I think it's great that you're going to be able to then train some folks so they can understand what journalism is, what good journalism is, and what's the kind of journalism that will actually help the communities that they won't be getting through English language television. So
absolutely,
that's very, very important. Okay, so how are you going to finance this thing?
Primarily, it's going to be advertisers. We could not start selling anything or offering anything before December 1st. December 1st was, on a Friday. So the week of December 6th, that's when we started actually putting out our product and talking to other advertisers. Well, the response immediately has been very, very good. Everyone wants to be here with us on our new venture. And so I think we're going to be able to start, with all the resources that we need to. For the first 3 months, we're making contracts for just 3 months, because at the end of the 3 months, we're going to evaluate what are the best ways to really do this. We may make some adjustments, but pretty much everyone who we have approached, they want to be on board with us. So I think for now that's going to be okay. We're not going to be suffer financially, which is of course a very, very important thing, because this is going to be a for-profit company. But also we are hoping to get some funds from different organizations that want to support independent media, especially Spanish language media. And I think we'll be able to get some organizations to help us with donations here and there, just for some visibility or branding. And also I think the government and nonprofits will also want to be on our programs, our interviews, our podcasts, our newscasts, just so we can talk about the different campaigns. So if they want to reach out to the Latino community, right now we consider ourselves by far the main source for that.
Yeah. And it's coming up in an critical election year. So there might be some opportunity.
Well, and as Latinos gain more and more voting power, right, just by sheer numbers, it's you have to recognize what they bring to the table. So what do you think, so this is kind of like away from your business, but just kind of in news in general, what are the big issues facing the Latino community in Washington and Seattle right now in this upcoming year?
Immigration is always a thing. Rules, regulations, new immigration laws, threats to immigrants. That's always been number one, and it will continue being number one. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of a good percentage of the population who still are either undocumented, or they have migrant status that is not permanent. And I'm talking about DACA, for instance. Now we have a whole issue about people seeking asylum that are here in the state of Washington, and they're still in limbo. So immigration is, I would say, still number one. But of course, a lot of the problematic and main issues for the Latino community here are the same issues than anyone else: health, financial, economic, employment, education for the families. So I try to be very sensitive and respond in kind when people are demanding all this information. I'll give you an example. Recently, it was announced that the state of Washington had an opportunity to provide health care for undocumented people living here, residents. And so my wife and I started doing these live shows, just explaining that this was coming, register, and still right now people can register. And the response was very big, even though, it may be a topic that is like I don't know, it could be a thick topic to explain how to apply and how much it costs,
Yeah.
where do you have to go, and all these things. But the response is big, and people start writing to me right away saying, "Where do we go? I want to register. How much is it?" And so we can see the immediate need of information for that. The other thing is also the state of Washington. By the way, the state of Washington very welcoming to immigrants, no matter the migrant status. They also implemented this benefit for undocumented immigrants. They could get unemployment, which is something that you don't get in many places. And again, people were very, very receptive to the information that we wanted to share when it came to unemployment benefits for undocumented. These are things that are going to be continuing on, and more other topics like that that are very specific for undocumented people. And we're the only ones talking about it from that perspective. So we expect to have a very good audience and reception when it comes to that.
What about the issue of voting? Do you see that particularly in this coming year?
Voting is an interesting thing. Even though Latinos, many can vote, I still see a little bit of distrust and maybe lack of confidence, which is, I guess, the same thing when it comes to politicians. And that comes because in our countries, we don't trust politicians the same way we can trust politicians somewhere else.
I don't know. That's growing here. So, yeah.
You are absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think one of the challenges and one of my personal goals is to get more people involved in politics, even if they don't have the right to vote right away. And I always tell people, you may not have the right to vote today, but you are an influence to somebody else. Could be your son, because the first generation may not be documented, but the kids may be born in this country and they have the right to vote, and you can talk to them, you can have. And knowing about politics, it's power. And even if you cannot vote, you still need to know what's going on. You need to know who are the leaders that are going to be making the decisions that may change your life for better or for worse. And you can still support them. Even if you cannot vote, you can still support in many, many ways. So my goal is to be able to get people more involved and to understand the importance of not just voting, but being involved in the politics and understanding what's going on, what's going to happen, what are the implications that one leader or the other are the one who's going to be elected. Next year being a big, big election year, I think we say that every time there is a big election, we say, this is the biggest one. Well, this may be the biggest one.
Yeah, this one is.
And I am sure that people are going to be paying attention. So, my goal is to educate. I'm already making connections with people at the elections office, so they have people in Spanish that can talk to us and talk about the importance and tell us about the guidelines and things and where they can get more information, how to register to vote. Our goal is to get everyone possible to register to vote. And also people have the residence status, and residents cannot vote. You can only vote if you are a citizen. Well, people are sitting down on their resident status, and they don't become citizens because it's costly, because you have to do the test, because you have to do these things, and tell them the importance and the difference that it makes to be a resident and to be a citizen. So there's also a campaign there for people to acquire the citizenships. There's funds, people to pay for the lawyer and the process and help them out. And these campaigns, I'm sure, are gonna continue, and we hope to be part of that campaign as well.
Yeah. I think you could teach really our community, the Latino community, a civics lesson, which actually a lot of people that are English speaking need that as well. But the truth is that it could be a very important opportunity to reach out to folks so that they understand those things. So I think that's
well,
really
people
incredible.
think that just because we have mail-in voting that it's easier. It's not it's not that much easier for people that English is not their primary language, right? There's still barriers. Right. And just a brochure that you can pick up and read really doesn't cut it for a lot of people. So sometimes they need an explanation. They need to be shown what to do and that it is simple. Right. But it could be daunting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a process that is like any education process. It's a process that has many different steps, and you have to be patient. But I think the results are already showing. I think that the last presidential elections, we saw an increased interest in people for in politics, and I think that's just going to still grow. Now having these different platforms and pretty much just any time of the day we can get the attention of someone. We're going to be sensitive on talking, on presenting things. We're not going to tell them who to vote, of course, but we're going to present facts and expose the importance of voting and getting involved in politics and learning about who are the leaders who are going to be making the decisions in your town, in your county, in your state, etc.
You're going to have like a YouTube channel?
Yes, right now primarily most of the followers are on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And for Latinos, Facebook still is the number one, well, at least locally, the number one source for information, and by far. Then it's Instagram and YouTube. And those are the three platforms where we're going to be putting our content. Yeah, those three in that order. Well, our content is going to go simultaneous probably on Facebook and YouTube. And then we're going to do reels. We're just going to cut pieces for Instagram, because Instagram is more like chop chop. Yeah. Just watch and your finger goes like that and it goes to the next. So we're going to do those three platforms. Yes.
Let's talk about you, Jaime, a little bit. Tell us your background. You're born and raised in Colombia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was born and raised in Colombia. I moved in 1987 to the United States, to New York. Lived in, if you know New York, Long Island, which is kind of the suburbs of New York. And then 3 years later, I moved to the beautiful state of Washington, fell in love with this area right away. I came to visit. 2 weeks later, I brought my only bag that I had and moved here, Bellevue. It was November. It was raining. It was dark, but it was beautiful. And I fell in love with it, not only the area, but I also fell in love with the people here. People were very nice, very kind. I felt very welcome. And just because of life things and work, I ended up going back, living in Miami for about a year. I went back to New York and lived another year. But as soon as I could, I came back to the state of Washington. And that's, I went to Evergreen State College. I got a degree there in a topic related to communications and political sciences and social sciences. Then I started working on radio, and that was my passion, was communications. I started doing radio on weekends, just with the small programs. And finally, I got a program that hit. It was called Café y Noticias, Coffee and News. And it was a Saturday morning show that we talked about news with a group of friends. We shared things. We talked about entertainment. We had a good time. And that show actually gained some visibility. After that, I was able to move on to the very first Spanish 24/7 station, 1360 KKMO, 1360 AM. So I had the first morning show on that. It was called Radio Sol, what Seattle needed, which is Sol means sun, what Seattle needed, because it was needed to have a 24/7 station in Spanish.
We need that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That station still, of course, exists. It's called now El Rey 1360. They do a lot of community service on that station as well. And then I was called when I was called, I knew people in the communications and media world around here. And when we heard that there was a Spanish station to be open here, they called me and said, would you like to give it a try? Have you done anything on TV? And in fact, I had done things on TV in New York, and I wasn't afraid to be in front of the camera. And, I already had visibility on radio, and I knew about news. So we started doing tries, and they chose me. I guess they didn't think that I wasn't only a radio face, which is a relief. and I ended up being the first TV news anchor here in 2007. And that's pretty much in a nutshell what's been going on.
Yeah, you were the right guy for that.
Thank you.
Job. You really were. So, partly because you already had such visibility in the Latino community from your radio work, and you were also active in the community out at events and things like that. So I know that was a really good transition for you, and it represented.
Thank you.
I think the community was very, very pleased to see you there. You also did sports because you're a soccer guy.
Yes, that's right. in 2008, when the Sounders, the MLS announced that the Sounders will be the new franchise team to join the league, we also right away jumped and said, hey, soccer, is big on our community. We have to do a show on that. So we started doing a highlight show, Sounders FC en Acción, during the season. And we also broadcasted live games. And I became a soccer football announcer. Now I had to yell "Goal!" half an hour and get my eyes almost popping out. It was a lot of fun until Apple TV came and said, no, we're going to be taking all the rights for the MLS, and Apple TV just took that away.
So that's what happened. Yeah,
that's what happened, and that's what we're not doing it anymore. But that's okay. We did it ever since the beginning, the inauguration of the Sounders in 2009 when they joined the MLS, and in fact, part of my project right now is around February, March. We want to start our own sports show, Deportes, during our newscast, and added thing, not just soccer, but we're gonna have soccer, American football. We want to have all the local sports and have people who can come and do the not live announcement, but just highlights on what's going on the local sports.
Oh yeah, Latino community loves sports.
Oh yeah.
As you look at this challenge, it's a challenge, but it's also, I think, a great opportunity.
Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish?
In the long term, we want to be able to continue being the source of responsible information to our community. I would love to be seen as not just me, but the Se Habla Media and Jaime Mendez News, our programs, to be seen as a serious, responsible, and timely news source of information for our community. We want people in the state of Washington to know what's going on and to be up to date with what's going on. Also to empower people, like you mentioned in the beginning. Anybody could be really a reporter. Anybody could be participating in the information that they get. So I know it's ambitious, but I like to create a very big family of informers, of reporters, and that we all help each other. And another thing very important to me is not just the well-being of my community, but also that we work together. Because in some places, Latinos, unfortunately, they fight a lot. They fight too much nonsense. Here, I want to have all the media communications in Spanish to be friends. And so far, we're doing very well. In fact, the fact that I'm going to be working with Paula Lamas, my co-anchor, after this, we're not going to go separate ways. Well, she's going to have her own programming. I'm going to have my own programming, but we're going to work on things together. So one of my goals is to be stronger as a community when it comes to information, because that's the only way that we can actually gain progress and gain some of the power that we still need. We still need more political representation, business representation in the Latino community, and in social environment, we need more representation. And I think if we all have one voice, or at least we agree on these things, we'll be a lot stronger. I hope this medium, Se Habla Media, Jaime Mendez, me and my team, are going to be part of building that unification and be strong and be solid.
I think you are right. In the Latino community, there is this thing. Someone described it to me. It's like you get a bunch of crabs in a bucket or something, and everybody wants to pull somebody down. Instead, you really do need to work together. This is a great way to do that. I think it could also be a great training ground for young people that are bilingual to be able to get some basic training, on the job training. Great opportunity, because they also understand social media quite well, and yet help our community grow. And I think more than anything else, keep them informed accurately. And that would be just
it's interesting, because the template you're talking about is applicable to any ethnic community.
Right.
So if you create this template, I mean, there's a lot of other communities that deserve and need this kind of information also. So
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, I think you're onto something.
Yeah. I also think that you have an opportunity, not just here in the Puget Sound region, but this is a statewide opportunity because, the internet and all of these different platforms, it can connect you not only throughout the state, but around the country and the world. So there's I think a great opportunity there in how you're going to approach this and do this.
Yes.
The only thing is that I hope you have a lot of you have a lot of energy. I just hope that you'll be able to maintain it all, because it's going to take a lot.
I do have the energy, and most importantly, I have the motivation. And even though there is a time that I'm going to go, like I'm probably just going to start moving out of this. I would love to leave a media and information business here that is so healthy and so strong that anybody can take over and continue doing that. And when you talk about the next generation doing it, I would love to have people to mentor people and to come with me, and I could start moving out a little bit out of the picture, and then have someone else come in little by little, and just help the next generation be the faces and the voices of the Latino community, not just the Latino community, just in general, people who learn. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that have the potential and have the talent. They just need the opportunity. Now we have the chance to give them that opportunity.
We're a couple of old guys, but we'll be happy to help you in any way we can.
Right. People want information when they want it. That's what they're used to. Yeah. And this is right in that, that sweet spot. So I think, with the following that you already have, you can be very successful with this. In fact, an audience larger than you would have had on broadcast.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. People are already coming to us, me and my wife, and offering to do programs nationally. And, it may sound tempting for a lot of people, and I'm not going to say no to anything right away. But right now, I got to concentrate on what I know, what I can get, my hands on, and just do a good job, which is local and statewide. And, who knows, maybe in the future we can just do something national. But right now, I just want to work with what I know.
We're wishing you the best.
Yes. And stay in touch with us, because it'll be great to see this unfold and actually work. And I believe it'll work, because there's a need. Whenever there's a need, right?
Yeah.
And someone fills it, they're successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much for your support. And to me, it's very important. Very, very important.
We're going to keep nagging you and saying, come back in a couple of months so that we can kind of track it over the next year to see how things are going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the same thing, we like to offer our help, our resources, our information. If you guys ever need anything from the Latin community, you want a topic, you want us to come on and talk about an issue, we're of course, we're friends.
We'll hit you up, no doubt, because we want to know the chisme out there. So Matt, chisme is like gossip,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff. So we'll hit you up on more chisme in the coming months here. But hey, Jaime, good luck. And I really think that there's a great opportunity here, and you're the guy to do it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jaime Mendez, thank you.
The Chino y Chicano podcast is available on your favorite podcast provider.
You can watch the video version on YouTube, and Converge Media, a leading producer of culturally relevant content in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk more later.